Started here. All right, so let me share the screen. We will and get going here. Let's see. Here we go. All right. Can you see that? The map?
Yep.
Nope.
Nope. Yep.
I have a
Yes.
black screen.
Oh,
Oh, there it is.
Okay. All right. So again, just to give you a general idea, again, here's our map. I always want to familiarize, we have the Sea of Galilee, Jordan River Valley, Dead Sea. We traveled, we started the first several days. We're up here in this region. We come down here, cross over here, pass Jerusalem, which is right here on the edge. And then we're going to stay here in the city of Rehovot. And I always have a hard time remembering how to say it because there's certain pronunciation and vowels and try to remember which way you pronounced it compared to the actual way. There's a lot of names like that in Israel. I can't remember which one's the proper and which one's the way I used to do it. But anyways, we'll be staying right towards the very south of the city. It's really not a big city, but there are actually over 100,000 people in this city, but it's only like 2 square miles, maybe 3 square miles. And so it's a very large city, a lot of high tower apartment buildings. But we'll be staying here on the end. Again, Fred and Julie will be staying just a couple minutes walk from here. And we'll be going that morning to their Kela, which is their church. And again, we'll remind you when we're there, we don't use the term church, don't use the term missionary, don't use the term pastor. Now, some of their congregation will use those terms because when they speak to you in English, they'll use those terms, but the pastor or they emphasize basically for us, try not to use those terms. We'll remind you, he'll remind you when we're there the night before, but great couple we'll be staying with. Love for the Lord. Just to give you a quick heads up of what we'll do while we're there is their church or their Kela meets at they meet at a kibbutz, which is a farming kibbutz. So when you pull in, you will smell a little bit of a dairy type of smell, or what you'd smell normally on a dairy farm. Manure possibly there, but they have a large auditorium in their kibbutz. Again, a reminder of a kibbutz was when Israel especially first came to be in a state, the way they were able to make it work is groups would band together for one specific purpose. Many times it was a specific farming. Now a lot of kibbutzes still do farming, but they also do like tourism kibbutz. We're going to be staying one night at a kibbutz in another place, which is basically they've turned it's farming / a tourism kibbutz. But that's where the church is. It actually is a fairly big auditorium that this kibbutz has built, and the church rents out. They'd like to get their own building, but the costs there are astronomical. Because what happens, the land is not, much of it is government owned. And because of that, a lot of it's dedicated to farming because, again, as I mentioned, they grow their own crops. So everything kind of builds up in small areas. And so that's where it makes it a little bit difficult. So this is a church, probably about 80 to 100 believers. And the real unique thing is it's actually a multicultural church in the sense of there's people from all over the world. Rehovot actually is a place, if you look here, it says called the Wiseman House, but there's a place called the Wiseman Institute. The Wiseman Institute is kind of a world-renowned scientific institute of technology, medicine. So people come especially from other poorer countries. Many come from Africa. Some come from India, just all around to study at the Wiseman. So what they have is believers who come to study at the Wiseman Institute or do their research there are looking for a place. And really, this is the only gospel preaching church in this whole 100,000 people city. And so you have people come from all over the world. So many are Jews, local Jews, but there's also a variety of that. One thing you're going to find in the church, just to let you know, is a strong population of Russians. In fact, I think the estimate was about 25% of Israelis are actually of Russian descent. So many of them, when they moved back into Israel, came from Russia. So in this church service, what's going to be really unique is that there's going to be this is the Sunday school. So we start in the basement area. This is the Sunday school. And like this section right here is the English section. This section right here is the Russian section. And this section over here, this is before it started, it'll fill up. But this section over here is the Hebrew section. So the teacher will speak in Hebrew, and this is the teacher right there. He's their assistant pastor called Adi. This right here is also Adi. It's a younger Adi and an older Adi. They're not related, but he does the translating work in English. And so he'll speak in Hebrew, and this guy will then translate, or somebody else will translate into English for this group. At the same time, this lady here will be translating Russian for this group right here. So it's really kind of unique setup because, the teacher speaks and then they'll kind of ask, and then he knows a little bit of Russian, but he knows a lot of English. The teacher does. He's fairly fluent in English as well. So he'll help the translator occasionally with that. So it's a whole unique thing that many times we never get to experience, but just a reminder, the body of Christ is not just this American thing. It's a worldwide thing. So that's kind of interesting. So we'll be part of that. To go there. And one of the reasons I planned this is because when we went last year, it was just a great experience to meet local Jewish believers, Messianic believers, other people visiting. And we'll spend some time here at the church. We'll have Sunday school, the morning service. And while we're there, a lot of them like to come and talk English because they want to learn English. And most people have some rough form of English understanding. Some are much more fluent than others. So a lot are going to want to conversate with you just because they're really interested. The other thing it does is an encouragement to them. Many times believers feel like they're in isolation in Israel. They don't know how people think about them or what they do. And then to find out some, Americans also care for them and love them and we're part of the same body of Christ, great encouragement. This is their auditorium. It doesn't fill up. It's just, again, this is not the church auditorium. But many of these seats will fill, again, about 100, 150 people. This service is actually done all in Hebrew, except that what you'll do when you enter in is they'll give you a headphone or a listening device, and they have somebody translate it in Russian and in English. So we'll make sure you grab the English device rather than the Russian because that's not going to help. Many of the songs are sung in a mixture. I don't know if this will do it. I have a video here, just a short service understanding. So the service is done in Hebrew, but if you look here, the songs there, you have basically Hebrew here. There's an English translation as well as a Russian translation of that. So you have, that's kind of their service. And again, you see the multicultural, different ones involved in leading. So it's going to be a really unique experience. Jen and I have really enjoyed it when we were there. We were there for several weeks last year and involved in their Kayla together with them, worshiping the Lord. Just a real neat opportunity.
Scott.
Yes.
What's the dress typically there? Is jeans going to be okay?
Yeah, look at this guy. He's got jeans and a t-shirt. That's actually the assistant pastor's son. Jeans and t-shirt.
Like our church.
Yeah, a lot like our church. Some dress up nicer. Some dress up in, most people don't wear shorts in Israel. Normally, if we have somebody wearing shorts in general, they're a tourist. But you can wear shorts because it's not. But they just know you're a tourist because it's just not a regular attire for most Israelis anywhere. They just have long pants. But yeah, so church attire is jeans and a t-shirt. I'll probably have like a button-down shirt, like what I would wear to church. But for you guys, it's really not. It's anything. And interesting.
Just thinking about packing.
Yes. Interesting enough for church. They don't advertise. In fact, I won't say they can't advertise, but if they start advertising, they get a lot of kickback or struggles against the Jewish believers. And so most of their people hear about the congregation through local people inviting them out. So it's almost all, instead of a public display like signs everywhere. You don't have any of that, or even advertisements, because it's all word of mouth.
Going back to the dress code thing, like for instance, I would just wear maybe something a little bit nicer than my everyday touring, nicer shirt or casual pants or something like that. And so maybe you want to just have a little bit nicer shirt than a t-shirt. You'd feel probably a little more comfortable than being too dressed down, but yeah, so.
Yeah, so it's a variety. So if you look here, like these guys here,
A
the
collared
teachers and leaders, most of them
Most of
collared
them wear
shirt, but that's
collars.
part of, a lot of the Israeli culture. But
Yeah.
yeah, so if you want to bring a collared shirt, this guy's got like a sweatshirt type of thing on. It is cooler in the basement there, but it all depends what temperature it is outside. Cooler in their term is different than cooler in Michigan term or Midwest term, because they're used to a lot warmer weather. In fact, right now, I don't know if you saw in the news stories, they just had a dust storm. It doesn't happen too often in Israel, but they were just experiencing a dust storm there. When Jen and I were there once, there was one day where there was starting to be like a dust storm. It only came and then it went by the afternoon. It got up to like 100 degrees, and then with its dust storm, because the wind blew from the south from the Egypt and from the desert, and then all of a sudden by the afternoon the wind shifted and it dropped 30 degrees. It was really kind of a unique experience, especially when they talk about, when you think about that in biblical terms. But we probably won't experience that. Any other questions about the Kayla or church?
So what do they call pastors?
They really don't.
They call him Jack.
They call him Jack. Jack
Just
is
by
they,
name.
they just call them their names. Yep. They don't really
Okay.
give them a title whatsoever. They have that because, again, what happens is if they find out you're a quote unquote pastor, you're often targeted by the local Jewish leaders. By Jewish, I mean in that sense not just a Jew, but the Jewish religion, the Jewish religious leaders will kind of target you, even to the point where some people have been kicked out of Israel simply because not the Jewish leaders can't do that themselves, but they have a really powerful hand in the government, and they can make it life really hard, like revoking visas. If they find out somebody's a missionary or a pastor, and if they search long enough, they can know. And they do occasionally will have people, they say, visit them that are kind of like, they won't say spies, but people finding out. So they understand who some of these people are, but because they don't use the term, even the point of like the Jack, he has his cousin living underneath him that he's been renting out the house to. But his cousin doesn't know he's the pastor, even to the point he knows he's responsible, help to be a leader of the church, but he doesn't want to do anything to compromise this opportunity because you don't want the Jews, the Jewish religious leaders against you. So it's kind of strange because it's really different than our culture, but it's still very similar to the days of the biblical days.
I said Pharisees are still busy.
Yes, yes, exactly. And you're going to see a lot of, when we talk about the Pharisees, when you see the religious, especially the Orthodox Jews, you're going to see a lot of similarities to exactly what the Pharisees did 2,000 years ago. They treat Messianic believers the same, kind of like even second-class citizens, outcast. Many times in that day, if you become a follower of Christ, a Messianic believer, and if you are from a strict religious home, they will basically excommunicate you. And actually, this church, the pastor says, very few Orthodox Jews have they seen come to faith. They see many that are nominal Jewish followers come to faith, but the Orthodox, because it's such a stronghold, that's what they have. Any other questions about the Kayla? So yeah, we'll meet this guy. We'll meet these guys. They should all be there. Gal is one of the church leaders at D. Sometime they're supposed to be over here paying a visit, and they might come to one of our church services. But we'll get a chance to meet them first here. So from there, this is a lot of this day. A lot of the Shabbat is kind of up in the air. I don't remember. I'm assuming their service starts like at 10 a.m. and gets done around 12 or 12:30. I don't remember because there's Sunday school morning service. It could be 9:30 to 12, something around there, very similar to ours. And so what we do that day, a lot of it depends what time we get out of the service. And so that's a thing to note because we have some plans, but a lot of times we'll get out of the service, and actually what we're going to do is we're just going to grab our lunch or we'll have our lunch with us like we do many of the days and eat lunch on the road. We're going to again come down from I'll zoom out here. We're going to come down from here down to this area, the Valley of Elah. The Valley of Elah, hopefully you remember it from the story of David and Goliath. And we're going to go here to Tel Azekah. That's probably where we will have our lunch here at Tel Azekah. And the reason we're going there is because it overlooks the Valley of Elah right here. And so let me just give you a little bit of an idea. So from Tel Azekah, this is the area from the top of this Tel. Remember, we go to Tel. Tel, whenever you see that, it used to be an ancient city. Most of the time it was a fortified city. The city of Azekah is mentioned a handful of times in Scripture, nothing real significant. It was more like a fortress city, similar to like Megiddo, Hazor. They haven't excavated much of this Tel, though. It's more of a viewing site rather than actual. You can see a little bit, but hardly anything there at this Tel. Not real significant, again, because it's in a high spot and it has overlook. It will be along one of the more main roads, not a huge main road, but it has, it's part of an old city. So that's Tel Azekah. This here is the Valley of Elah. The story of David and Goliath would have taken place here. These mountains over here, and I'll explain it while we're there, so it's hard for you to understand, but these mountains here would be where the Philistines would have put their army. This mountain here is where the Israelites would have been with Saul and David, and this would be the valley below where Goliath would have come out. There's a dry riverbed. We'll have the opportunity to walk through the dry riverbed and kind of get the idea of the stones that David would have picked up to use, where the battle would have taken place. So that's here in the Valley of Elah. We'll get a chance to climb up this hill. This would have been where the Israelites would have been on top of this hill when they had camp. And so that we'll be up, we'll walk up to the top of this hill. And so we'll kind of have the overview of the battlefield from where the Israelites would have been. And then down here, right where this is in here, is a dry riverbed. And so this dry riverbed right here is where they would have picked up stones from. So anyways, that's the story of David and Goliath. We'll get a chance to kind of retell it, read through it while we're there. Yes.
Did you just hear that thunderclap?
No, I didn't.
There was
We
lightning
just
too.
had a
I just heard it. It's right here now. Yeah, I hear it right now. That's kind of strange. I didn't even think it was going to rain. I do see dark clouds. The sun's out, so I don't even think about that. Maybe there's a rainbow. So anyways, this is the region here. So we'll get a chance to see that. Really neat because, it's just one of the most famous Bible stories, and to see where it took place, to visualize it. Maybe it'll destroy your thoughts because you have your childhood memory of the flannel graph story of what it was like. So sometimes biblical things actually, I won't say ruin, they enhance many things, but they also change your perspective because because you have that. If we can, and we're gonna from there, then take opportunity to go up just a little ways. Let's see, I don't remember exactly where it's at in this. It's somewhere around here. If we have opportunity just up this road, we're going to go and see these stairs here. They kind of had it blocked off last year, so I don't know if it's going to be reopened, the one area. But these are ancient steps from basically old Roman road. And so it's really kind of neat because, again, we go back to the ancient Roman time and just remnants of one of the roads that would have traveled through this area. You used to be able to see a spot where there was like a watering hole that is a good possibility that's where the Ethiopian eunuch was baptized, but they've redone the road. And last year when we were there, they blocked a lot of it off. And so we won't be able to see all of that. But we'll hopefully get to stop at these steps and kind of walk up these steps just a little bit of just a real neat thing to see. This is, where the Romans would have traveled as they would have gone down in their different roads that they would have gone on. So from there, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Lachish, or Lachish. I think Lachish is actually the proper thing. I used to always say Lachish, but it's going to be right here in this region. Now, again, time will determine what we do, and I'll explain that just in a little bit. Hopefully, we'll have an opportunity to stop here. We may or may not explore the site depending on the time, but what we are going to do is we're going to take opportunity to go, and they have, I was going to show you just a little short video, but I guess I won't do that. When we're there, it's a video that basically, one of the neat things is in Assyria, they found a large, what do you call it? It's like a steel, basically like a whole wall that tells a story. Kind of like you picture from Egypt, but the Assyrians did it as well. And they tell the whole story on this wall about the capturing of Lachish and how they built a siege wall, or how they built a siege ramp. So if we look here, we're going to see the remnants of an Assyrian siege ramp. And basically what this does is this multimedia presentation that tells the story. And the unique thing about it is, if you remember when the Assyrians invaded Jerusalem, or invaded Israel, Judah, invaded Judah during the time of Hezekiah. And Hezekiah prayed to the Lord. So this is Hezekiah, Isaiah, and Sennacherib, and they surrounded Jerusalem. But all of a sudden, he got called away to Lachish. And Lachish played an important a role in this. And we know that Lachish was conquered by the Assyrians. And they built the siege ramp, and they have record of it in Assyria. So basically it correlates proof that the Bible is true, just because they have this whole steel that was found. Again, steel, picture a wall by like 40 feet long by 10 feet wide of the wall. And what they do is they kind of, they'll have a multimedia presentation with a reconstruction of this steel that they found, and explaining how the Assyrians captured the city and how they recorded it. And it corresponds with what Scripture says about Hezekiah and Sennacherib. And then eventually they were defeated at Jerusalem when they surrounded the city for a while. So we'll talk about that while we're there. We may not go and explore the city. It's not there yet. We may not go and explore the city just because we'll see how much time we have. We're kind of in a time crunch to get everything done because we have traveling to do. But that media presentation, we'll take a quick view of the city. There's not much. Like here is just, this is what it would have looked like. The gate is still here, and then most of this is underground and just rubble. And so hopefully we'll have an opportunity to see some of it. But again, it all depends how we're feeling, what time it is. And so there's some time factors in there. From there, what we're going to do is we're going to head on down to the idea of Beersheba. So remember, often in Scripture, when it talks about the idea of Dan, we went to Dan, which Dan here is the northernmost part of Israel, up to Dan. And then we have Beersheba, which is normally considered the southernmost part of Israel. So several times in the Old Testament, they'll say from Dan to Beersheba, basically from north all the way to south. And so we'll have a chance at least to drive through this area. Depending again on our time factor, we'll maybe stop. There's not a whole lot to see at Beersheba. But one of the unique things is you do get to see pictures that like this. Of course, they didn't have as much junk there. They did in the Bible times, but you get an understanding of where Beersheba was. And then you think about the story of Isaac. Isaac spent a great deal of time around Beersheba. Abraham spent quite a bit of time there as well. And so much of the story of Isaac takes place around this area of Beersheba. And you kind of see where they lived at. It really wasn't like a great place. You'll see a difference between the green of the north, because we're going to see a lot of green because we'll be there in the spring. And then you get down to Beersheba, it's kind of on the border of the desert, and you see why it was in the south. So you get to see this. Possibly we'll see some camels as well. Definitely some sheep and goats. Many more goats than there are sheep, but you'll see that. And these are Bedouins that have that. This is just from a distance. This is just Tel Beersheba. They have a little tower you can walk up and look around. It's a small thing. One of the unique things is they do have a well right here. Now they've reconstructed a lot of it, but this was basically a well. And if you think of the story of Hagar, when she went away, she went down to Beersheba first. Also, we know that Isaac dealt with wells, digging wells. He had a well in Beersheba. Jacob would have been here. So a lot of the Old Testament, especially before the patriarchs, would have been right around this region. So it gives you kind of a vision, especially when you're thinking of the Old Testament. This is just an aerial of Beersheba. Of course, I didn't take this picture because I wasn't up that high. But it's an aerial of it. And if we have time, we'll go through it. More of a circular type of city. This layout would have been more dated to the King's period. It would have been a fortress city as well, kind of like Azekah, Megiddo, Hazor, these fortress cities. They weren't really large populations, but they were there to be kind of their posts, the outposts. Beersheba did a lot of battles with like Egypt. Again, understanding that the Philistines as well as Egypt, if we go to our map and understand Beersheba right here, this would be all Philistine territory along here. Egypt would be to the south. So Beersheba would have been your first kind of fortress city for Israel to defend it from Egypt. Or if they came up this way, it'd be some of these other cities like Tel Azekah in this region, because the rest of this would have been, this is Kiryat Gat with his Gath, where Goliath would have been. You see Ashkelon, you see Ashdod. These are all the main cities of the Philistines as well as Gaza. And so you have basically, there's 5 Philistine cities, and so that would have been in this territory. So much of this will be in Philistine territory until Beersheba. Now, from Beersheba, what we're going to do is we're going to head over, and this is kind of a real neat thing because we'll get to go over to the Dead Sea, and we'll just come right over this way past Arid and get down here. Now, one of the unique things is this region right here. We're not going to go all the way down here, but this is where the Israelites would have come up when they came from the wilderness. They're wandering in the wilderness. Much of it was spent right here in this region. And then they eventually came up here, top of the Dead Sea, to get crossed into the Holy Land rather than come up through this territory. But we're going to be driving through here, and you'll get a lot of idea of the picture of what it looks like. It's a very dry, arid, hilly type of land. If you see it here in the pictures as we'll be driving through it, it is much just a mountainous desert region, not a lot. This is the area right in this region. Jen and I last year, when we were there, we stayed at a Bedouin camp, stayed at a Bedouin tent in this region in the middle of the desert. And so we'll get to drive over here over to the Dead Sea. And that's where we'll really enter night. So one of the things that creates the time constraint that we have on this day is the idea of we want to make sure we have time to swim in the Dead Sea. Because it's a really unique event to be able to take opportunity to swim in the Dead Sea. Most of you are familiar with it. This is actually the view from the resort we'll be staying at. This is the nicest place we'll stay. I mean, we'll stay at some nice places, but this is here we'll be staying at this place called the Oasis Spa Club, where you'll take opportunity, you'll look over the Dead Sea. We'll have to cross the road here to get to swim in the Dead Sea, but they have a nice beach. They have showers there on the beach to rinse off with. Again, most of you, I think, can be familiar with the Dead Sea. We'd be swimming somewhere close to this in the beach. And one of the unique things about it, I didn't put that picture there, but most of you know that in the Dead Sea, basically, you float. You don't sink.
Even you, Fred.
Doesn't matter who you are.
You gotta try it.
So you have the ability to go there, and it's just a unique experience because you will just float on top. You sit up, you can stand up, no problem. You don't want to put your head underwater. If you have cuts or sores, you will feel it if you get the water in your eyes. I did, I will say, several, when we took our future son-in-law at that time, Jake, down, we were not in the Dead Sea itself, but we were at the pool, and they have saltwater pools. and I talked him into going underwater. I don't know what I did. I talked him into going underwater with his eyes open, and that was bad of me. But yeah, he burned his eyes a little bit. Not burned, but they were burning type of idea. So in the resort, we'll also have time inside as well. So we'll have time to swim in the outside in the Dead Sea, but I want to take a little time there since we're going to be at the resort. This is their pool inside. One of the unique things is it's a little bit cleaner than the Dead Sea, but it has water that's the high salt content. So in here you can kind of float. It's supposed to be helpful for medicinal purposes as well as they have a hot tub. It's kind of salt water, but not near as high as that. And it's Kyogen. So that's where we'll be staying at for the night. We'll actually have dinner here as well as breakfast the next morning. So it's one of the places we'll actually have breakfast at the place, but it's included in the fee. And they have a real nice spread for dinner. So you get to see a lot of kind of the variety of Israeli food that they have and different things. So it's like a buffet they'll have. So it's a really nice opportunity we'll take there at the resort. Most places we do a lot of Airbnbs. In Israel, Jerusalem's really unique. We'll talk about that next week. But that's kind of where we'll be at when we go there and take opportunity again to swim in the Dead Sea. Just so you know that basically no living thing, maybe some like small, like not even animals, but single cell type of creatures, whatever, little things can survive in there. But no, the salt content is so high that most things cannot survive in this. And so anyways, you can also take the opportunity. Some people do. They rub the sand on yourself. It's supposed to be a high mineral content, but be good for your skin. We'll have opportunity as well. There's like a little strip mall, and as long as it's still open, which it should be actually since it's Shabbat, it'll actually open up that night pretty late. Because it's tourists that, the restaurant and stuff will be open, but the mall will probably open up that evening. And if you go there and if you want to buy some, there's places that make, Ahava is a big company there. They make a lot of stuff, products they ship all over the world, health products made from the Dead Sea. It's not necessarily any much cheaper there, even though you're right on there, because again, it's geared towards tourists, but we'll have opportunity if you want to buy any products to take with you. Some people think it's really helpful. I've never tried it, so I don't know. But so anyways, that's our day for the Dead Sea. It's a little bit shorter day of traveling, a little bit more of a restful day, but we will try as much as we can to get as much as we can in, but also take advantage of the resort as well that we'll be at and take opportunity there that evening. So that's what we have for that day. Any questions? So just a thought I just wanted to throw out there. We do have, we will be in, what was I going to say? Is the itinerary we have will change slightly day by day compared to what I'm showing you now. Some of it based on, we already had one change when we were by Nazareth. The Nazareth village I talked about actually opened up, so we're going to get to go there, which is a really neat experience. So that's going to change where we stay one night and the order of how things go. And so I just want to say that because some people are like, well, it's not according to the book. Well, things have changed a little bit. We'll go to all the same places, but just in a slightly different order to make it all work together. But we'll also probably get to add a really unique place when we're there as well because of that order change. And some things just take a shorter time than others. But so just to let you know that things, even when we go to Jerusalem, there's going to be a slight change. I'm going to present it the way it's in the booklet. But when we're actually there, because I had to schedule an event to go somewhere on a different day, it'll change the order, but the places will be the same, and you probably won't remember. But just know that when you're that day and you're looking at the book, well, I thought we were supposed to do this today. We're going to get it all in, but we just do a different order.
So what day do you think we'll be at the spa? What day of the month?
That is, we are there on this Sunday night, the Shabbat, whatever day that is.
The 19th.
The 19th, yes.
Okay. Huh?
So that's the day. I knew that won't change. That's all set. So we'll be there that night. So the places will be in general will stay the same. What we do in the days will vary. And some of it depends on how you guys are feeling. There might be some days where you're just, I don't want to go to another site because you're just worn out. And we could skip some things that aren't as important we'll bypass. Or feel free as well for some of you, if you want to stay in the vehicle when we go somewhere real quick, you're welcome to do that as well, because we do go to a lot of places and see a lot of things. And so we're definitely, very much flexible with a small group. Any other questions? Well, like I said, a little shorter this week. Next week is when we hit, we don't get to Jerusalem yet, but we go up the Dead Sea to Masada, and we'll get to talk about those and some of Jerusalem. That's where we'll stay the next several nights in Jerusalem after we go to the Dead Sea. All right, and I hope you enjoy your week, and we'll
Thank
see you next week.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Forgot to cut my video out a little early. I hit the wrong button. Oh, no, I didn't. That's still sharing, so.